Hey everybody, I'm Mike with S&S Grills, and today we're talking all about cooking efficiency using the Slow N Sear insert. It's cold out today, so we couldn't pick a better day for this. Once again, welcome back to the channel, everybody. We really appreciate all your support. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on all the great content that we're putting out. Now, I've been using the Slow N Sear insert for years, and it literally changed my charcoal game forever. I was always amazed at the perfectly even cooking, and of course, the searing capability is second to none. The design is also incredibly efficient on your charcoal. So today, we're gonna do an illustration of that using low and slow temperatures. Let me show you how I set this up. Whether you're a beginner or an experienced user of the Slow N Sear, here is my go-to low and slow lighting technique. It never fails and it's easy to repeat. Just start with 12 to 15 coals stacked in one corner of the Slow N Sear and a fire starter. Get the fire starter lit and surround it with coals. Let it get some oxygen and burn for just a few minutes and you'll begin to see the coals start to ash over. Once that happens, get your lid on and open all your vents wide open, including the smoke hole, which we'll talk more about in a second. Our target temperatures for today are 225 to 250 degrees Fahrenheit. So once we get to within about 50 or 100 degrees of that, we're going to start choking back and dialing in those vents to get it locked in. Now, just in case you're wondering, the reason why we started with just a few coals was to keep temperatures from getting away from us. That initial dial in of temps is much easier with less coal. Once you get it dialed in, it's time to fill the Slow N Sear with unlit coal. I didn't count the coals, I just filled it up until I could still close the grate evenly. One more note for those of you keeping score, I did leave the water reservoir in the Slow N Sear, but I'm not using water today. I just wanted to mimic the right amount of coal for a cook that would include water. I ended up with my top vent about a third open, the bottom vent fully closed, and the smoke hole opened about halfway. The smoke hole is a great way to maintain temperatures on low and slow cooks. And once I got everything dialed in, the cooker purred along for quite some time. But the outdoor elements can change that, especially in the winter. We're about 4 hours into this test now. We started effectively around 9:15-ish a.m. and it's about 1:15 p.m. now. Once I got through my first couple vent adjustments in the beginning just to get everything dialed in, it purred right along and stayed right in that 225 to 250. Now, a short while later, the sun came out, it got a little windy, and those environmental factors will have an effect on your vent settings. So I did tweak those back a little bit because we popped through 250 just a couple degrees. So I tweaked that back just a little bit on both the upper and lower vents, and now we're riding along beautifully under 250 once again. So I have not opened this lid, and I have no intentions of opening this lid. I want everyone here to know that the coals I started with are the coals we're going to finish with. And we are going to ride this thing till the end until we can no longer stay above 225 consistently. I personally have always noticed that my Slow N Sear runs very efficiently, but we've even done polls on this with other users in our Facebook group. As a matter of fact, we'll put a link down below here so you can check that out for yourself. Now, as this continues to ride along and the sun goes down, it gets a little cooler outside, I may have to make a couple more tweaks to the vents again, and make sure you give each vent adjustment about a 10-minute period or so to actually take effect. You can't just tweak the vent and expect the temperature to change right away. Remember, we're dealing with oxygen and fire, so we have to allow that a natural time for it to adjust. Give it about 10 minutes at least and see what that vent adjustment does before you make another one. Now, on our website, it says that we'll be able to hold these temps for about 8 hours or so or more. I have no idea how long this is going to take, and because we're in winter, I don't even know if I'll still have daylight when this finally finishes. But I will come back at that time and give you a final report with some final thoughts.
Several hours later.
All right, it is 5:30 p.m., so we are well past 8 hours, and this thing is still cranking along. And I wanted to come back to you when we got past 8 hours just so that you know where we are, and you can see on the chart and the graph here that we have had no lid openings. So while I still had light, I wanted to come out and just report to you exactly where we are. Now, I'm going to let this roll, and I'm going to continue to see how far this will go, and I will report that to you here in just a moment. But I thought I would just share a couple more thoughts with you about the day. Winter versus summer. I think the best way to describe it is that in the winter, with the weather, can be a little bit more temperamental, and you may need to tweak your vents just a little bit more throughout your cook. Really depends on where you keep your cooker, whether it's in direct sunlight, whether it's away from the wind. But if it's like mine, where today I was getting some sunlight and I was getting a little bit of wind, that definitely affected my ability to hold temps, and I did have to make a couple vent adjustments. Very slight, but I had to make them. Either way, I kept it right in that range. of that 225, 250 area. And so there was probably about 3 or 4 vent adjustments throughout this entire day to get to where I'm at right now, outside of that initial tweaking to get it into the range where we needed it. And even though we're using a wireless thermometer to gather data and monitor temperatures, we're not using any automated temperature maintenance device. So there's no blower fan on here. This is just man, grill, and the elements today. So this is no different than you in your backyard. And outside of dealing with the elements a little bit, I was able to maintain this very easy. And if I can do it, you can do it too. And it's still humming along. I mean, who knows how long this thing's gonna go.
Well, we finally got our answer. This went well into the dark and we had a total time of right around 10 hours. Looking at this chart, you can see we got our test started right around 9:15 a.m. Then maintained temperatures throughout the day of roughly 225 to 250 Fahrenheit. And of course you can see around 7:14 p.m. is when we finally opened the lid. That's when we just couldn't hold temperatures any longer. I did open the vents towards the end and that gave us a little spike in temps, but it was short-lived. So I opened the lid to see what we had for coals, and it was mostly ash, but I was able to stir these up, and to be honest, I probably could have put the lid back on after stirring them up and extended the time even longer. But I was very happy with our results anyway. I think roughly 10 hours of burn time on one Slow N Sear full of coal, that's a success.
That's it for this one. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you got something out of this video. It was a long day, but it was a fun day. And if you got something out of it, then that makes it all worth it for me. Take care. Till next time, remember that 2 zones are better than 1. And I will see you on the next video.